I'm not sure what's going down with the weather in your neck of the woods, but in Ohio, we're celebrating the first day of spring with a snow and rain mix. So, if you are craving that wonderful spring color that's so close but not here yet, this arrangement might be perfect for you. I'm using colored sand to just kind of bump up the color factor in my succulent and cacti arrangements. Join me.
Liquid Amber Girl gardening.
Okay. All right, so this is the planter that we're going to use. It's got a nice wide opening and it's super shallow. So I'm just going to start by getting some soil. And this is cactus and succulent mix. Um, Anything that you have that's fast draining. And I'm going to fill a good amount of the bottom with it before we start adding sand. Normally I actually dump this soil in, but in this case, using your hand is usually better because if you just dump it in, the soil goes flying all over the sides of the glass and then you have a lot more cleanup to do afterwards. So what I have here is kind of a mound in the center and trailing down. And I've brought the soil up from the bottom part of the planter up to, if you're viewing it from the side, which is how you see your planters, to right where your eyes can start to kind of see the soil. And that's because this is where we're going to add the colored sand. So I'm going to start with this green, and it's the darkest of the three greens that I have. I have three different shades of green, and I'm going to show you real quickly how to get your sand different colors. Right, in order to color your sand, you're just going to take whatever paint color you like. In this case, we're using a pink. This is an acrylic pink parfait. And Evie is just going to squeeze about a quarter size or smaller amount onto the top of this sand. Go ahead, honey. Yeah, that's probably, nah, give it a little more. Great. And you're just going to move it around with the back of the spoon. Gently, my darling. It gets messy real quickly. I'm glad Matilda's cooperating. This takes a lot of patience. We're still going. And we did add another like dime size dolls of paint as well. Something I'm finding as I do different colors and shades is I think the lighter colors require more paint. The darker colors tend to color up the sand a lot more quickly and with less paint. Oh, there it is, our finished product. And it took another little bit of paint, probably like a, I don't know, nickel size amount of paint to get it to that color. So then you just want to lay it out in as flat a layer as you can and leave it to dry. I actually leave mine to dry overnight and come back in, and it'll have some little pieces, clumps and stuff that then you can break up with the whatever you're using to break it up. I'm using a spoon. So now that we have our different colors of sand and you know how to do that, I've found, and I've done several of these, the easiest way for me to get it where I want it, which is right along the edge of the glass, is for me to use a spoon and use the spoon to kind of deliver the sand right where I want it. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so you may or may not be able to tell, the sand then comes up the edge of the glass. And as I get there, I'm going to start pulling the soil kind of out and creating a little ledge, so that, in other words, I'm not wasting too much of the colored sand. I'm just using enough to color on the outside, the part that the eye will see. And then I'll go back and fill in with some more after I go around and do all the way around these edges, just pushing the soil back down and creating a little barrier to keep it so that the sand is just going here along the edge and not all throughout this arrangement. Well, just to show you a little closer kind of from the inside, I've pushed the soil literally right up to the edge so that when I get my next layer of sand, bless you, Evie. It's okay, honey. So when I get my next layer of sand down in here, it has a barrier to keep it right up against the edge of the glass and not just scattering all through the arrangement, because I don't need it in the center. I don't want it in the center. I just want it at the edges where it's going to be pretty and decorative. Okay, so we're going to go in. This is the same dark green color, and we're just going to continue going around the edges with this dark green. And I'm literally just holding the edge of the spoon up against the glass and letting the sand just fall down on either side then of that edge, which creates a nice buildup of sand right where you want it. And more soil, moving the soil back out again. And right here, I think I'll let it build up a little bit so that I don't just have straight lines of color. It kind of, oh, Matilda Jane. That doggy is a big mouth. So I don't have straight lines of color, that they kind of flow and ebb and flow. You just kind of build up the soil behind it a little bit higher, and then you can build up the amount of colored sand that you have in that one area as well. It just gives it some movement. I like the way that it looks, but if you just want a perfectly straight line, you just do that. Whatever you like, my friends. Okay, that's about the end of the dark green. So again, and I want to point out too, I'm not adding soil. I'm just moving it from that center that I had built up into a mound and just pushing it out each time I add sand, creating then a barrier so that I don't bring too much sand into the center of the bowl. I really just want that to be potting mix for my plants. They don't need to have sand that's been colored by paint mixed in with them. I don't necessarily think it would harm them, but I'm not willing to take that risk either. So just pushing that soil, and I'm just pushing it so it's almost up against the edge of the glass, but not quite. And it's going to be time to go in with the medium shade of green that I have next. Here is that shade of green. And let's start adding.
You should do one with purples.
I should?
Yes.
Okay. I can do that.
You should do one of every color and lay out like rainbow.
Well, I do like rainbow. Okay, I have some soil in the mix here. And it's time for our lightest shade of green here. Okay, so last look here, you can see 3 different layers of green sand. And whoopsie, I had a catastrophe there. And the rest is going to be soil, so get your sand out of the way. And we're going to fill in a little bit of this. This soil and compact it. Normally I would never do this for any plants. You don't want the soil to be too compacted, but this is not going to be the planting area. Evie, would you lift it up so they can see how far down in this goes? Yeah, see, I've got all of this planting area from here all the way down in, and the roots aren't ever going to be going over in this side anyway. If they were, I wouldn't have been planting or putting colored sand in anyway. We're going to just have 3 little cacti plants in the center area, and we're going to go get those now. So, all right, we're going to start with this sweet little Echinocereus, which is a rainbow hedgehog. And it's just a wee little cactus. The spines go outward, almost like in a little butterfly shape. They're really, really sweet. And so it's pretty much zero algae. You can touch that one. And you can feel the texture. I'm just using this butter knife to loosen around the edges. I'm going to pop her right out. And that's all there is to her. So she's going to be first. Okay, I'm going to have to add a lot of soil to get this. I'm actually going to bring the soil up over the sand. Okay, again, I'm just firming this soil in on the edges, but I'm not packing the cacti down into the soil any more tightly than normal. So that's our first. Next is a paper spine cactus, maybe Tephrocactus something. I'll have to look up the name and put it on the screen for you. I'll just keep adding soil as needed, but again, don't ever plant them any deeper than they were already planted in their little pots. There we go. He's planted. Now we'll just tuck some soil up in these last edges because this last one is an ouchie. He's a cactus that is an ouchie. And so I'm going to do everything I can to be almost done with this arrangement so that once he goes in the soil, I don't have to have my hands anywhere near him. This little dandy. People call them rabbit ears or angel wings. Either way, they look pretty nice. They don't have super long spines, but one little touch, I mean the slightest brush against this, and you will have those spines in your finger, and they're impossible to get out. So I'm literally taking a piece of paper I've folded 3 ways, and I'm going to wrap that around these cacti just to give me something to grip. I'm going to squeeze this and hopefully that will loosen. Yep, there they go. And he has some great roots, as you can see. But no ouchies for me. I have had so many ouchies from this little booger. And it's not like an ouch ouch. It's more like a, why is my hand itching like this kind of a feeling. And it's upsetting, and it just, it'll stay with you for a while after. So like a couple of days basically until these teeny tiny little spines fester back out of your skin. Not pleasant, and if I can avoid having another run-in with this guy, then I'm going to. So here we go. Just pack a little bit of soil down around the roots.